teachers, I was like, wait, tell me when you're ready.
Whenever you're...
So
Go.
push stop. And then, so we're going to start vocabulary unit. We would have 5 units over the course of this year. Okay, so the first paper that I need you to have out is this one. We're going to take some quick notes about identifying patterns that occur in endings of words that help us to know what part of speech that word is. Okay? And we're going to use this, as I said, every time we do vocabulary. But eventually you'll start recognizing these patterns. And in fact, you probably already know these patterns. You're just not aware that you know them. Okay? So noun endings on Latinate and Greek words. By the way, all words cannot be broken up into their parts. Remember, we had 2 distinct vocabularies and grammars and languages that came together to form English. Anglo-Saxon German, which had its own full working vocabulary and structures of syntax and linguistics and semantics. And then we had William the Conqueror, right? And he came in the French Normans. So that 2 different languages came together, and that is why we have 600,000 or so words in English, way more than any other language by far. Okay, so if you think it's hard, that's part of the reason why. We have 2 languages. Okay? Alright, so like, not every word can be broken up like this. Okay, but typically academic words that you use, like if you're studying law, for instance, one day, or medicine. Have you ever seen a legal document that had a word that could be broken up? Like jurisdiction, for instance? Okay, what about a word like discrimination? Do you think that could be broken into parts?
Yeah.
Why do you think that? What parts could you carve off that you can hear sound like the endings of another word?
This.
Shun on the end, right?
Or this.
Or dis. Okay, so we have a prefix, a suffix, and then we have a root. Okay, so just so you know, to affix something means to attach it or fasten it to something, right? Affixes can be either prefixes or suffixes. Does a word have to have an affix? No, but does it have to have a root? Okay, so not typically, all the time, it's the endings of words that determine how that word will function in that particular circumstance, i.e. that sentence, okay? Like, for instance, sometimes if there's a blank and there is an adjective before the blank, what often will go in the blank? Like a noun, right? Because that adjective is describing that thing, okay? What if you have an adverb and then a blank? Often it will be a verb, right? What if you have a the and then a blank? Because the is the article or the determiner, we know often that that's where the noun comes, okay? So we know that there are patterns that exist, okay? So for noun endings, let's jot some down, okay? So ness, N-E-S-S would be one. So we're going to jot that down here. Like fullness, okay? Or what's another word that has ness on the end? Don't say Loch Ness. Sickness, goodness, kindness. So if you take an adjective often and add a ness to it, you take the describing word and you turn it into a what? A noun. Okay? So what other words form nouns? Shun, T-I-O-N. Okay, like rational is an adjective. If I put rationalization, right? And by the way, in the middle there's an eyes, an I-Z-E. Guess what that does? So I took rational, which is an adjective, and then I add an I-Z-E to it. Rationalize. What did I just do? I made it into a verb. Now if I take the adjective, I add that verb ending, and then I add shun. Rationalization. I have turned it into a what? A noun. Okay? So T-I-O-N. Okay? What else can be noun endings? Itty. Itty, I-T-Y. Enmity is an example of a noun with an ITY.
Uppity.
Uppity. Okay. Here's another one. Ist. I-S-T. Botanist. Biologist. Physicist. Studentist. Just kidding. Did you know there is actually a job title now called hospitalist? I'm not kidding.
I have heard of this.
Okay.
What do they do? They hospitalize.
You know, hospital stuff. Okay? There's some sort of administrator in a hospital that, you know, wasn't needed until like 2 years ago when they decided they would name something a hospitalist. Itty, ism, we need ism. Ism. How about ment? M-E-N-T. Judgment. Arrangement. So I took a verb and I added meant to it, and I now have changed it into a noun. Okay? Arrangement. And then ants and ents. Relevant. Relevant. That's an adjective, right? What if I put relevance? It's a noun, right? Relevance. Ants or ents. Okay? So we're going to stop there. Now we're going to move to the super easy one, verbs. We're going to knock that one out next, and then we'll go to adjectives. All right. There aren't so many for verbs that we can recognize, but an ATE. Okay? An ATE. Oh, you're like, 8, that's a verb. But an ATE on the end of a word like meditate, deviate, alleviate, ameliorate. Yes. It's actually an adjective ending, but the beginning part of that would be the verb that would have an ing. It's a verb conjugation, right?
We didn't talk about that right now.
But good thought.
For so long, I was like, it's a verb. I mean,
So you would then say ed too, right? You know, same type of idea, but no. Alright, you'll see. IZE is another verb ending. Rationalize, humanize, recognize, what? Popularize. Okay, we're gonna leave that, and now we're gonna go to the one that has the most. So an OUS ending often indicates the word is an adjective, like wondrous. Superstitious means full of or having. That OUS ending. OUS. Able or able? Able or able? It means having the ability to do something, right? Ick, like sophomoric. Owl. Like natural, right? ENT or ANT, relevant. And then IVE, IVE. And as we go through and we pick up more of these, we will add to this. But this is step 1 in terms of like talking about patterns we'll start looking for, so that we can know something about a word. Okay, so just because you don't know the entire, every single part of a word does not mean that you can't still answer a question on an SAT or an SOL test or whatever thing, like a GRE if you're getting into graduate school or whatever. Okay, so that's it for part 1. So can you push stop? So we wrote down, oh that was crappy. Can you